This is a Toyota Highlander with a 2.4-liter 4-cylinder engine. Today we are doing the valve cover gasket replacement. The valve cover gasket runs along the top of the head right here, and over time it hardens and it loses its ability to seal, so you start to see drips of oil along the front of the head and also on the rear. And on the front, this will drip onto the exhaust and it will cause a burning oil smell. So let's get started. The first step is to remove this plastic engine cover. It's held down by two 10mm acorn bolts, and they come right off. Okay, now we have a better view if the leakage and seepage is going on. Okay, the next step is to remove all four ignition coils, and they also have little 10mm hex bolts that hold them down, and they also come right off. Just break them loose, and then we can finish turning them. Now we want to remove the ignition coils. Normally the connector for the coil has a tab, a locking tab on top. This one is already gone, long gone. This one is also long gone. And these locking tabs are nice to have, but it's not the end of the world if you don't have them. And with the connectors off, the harness can be folded back and out of the way. The coils pull right out. And oh, there's some oil that has leaked down through the grommet. And there's another one. So it was high time to replace this gasket, because that oil could cause misfires eventually. Next we have the fastener for the harness right here, and this you can either release the harness by pulling up on this tab, and that releases the harness from its bracket. Now this is the PCV hose right here, and it has been clamped down previously by somebody, so we'll just need to loosen this clamp, and then the PCV hose will pull right off of the valve cover. So the PCV hose pulls off. We just set it aside up here. Now on this side we have the crankcase breather hose. It just has a little fastening clip, and it can be pulled straight off. So here we've removed the hose, and it snaps right into the intake tube right here, so we can pull it out and set it out of the way. Now on this side of the valve cover, we have this fastener that we're just gonna remove to make things easier for ourselves. And that will get the harness off of the valve cover. At least we hope so. Let's see. Yep. That does the job right there. And we have, this is the electronic noise filter, radio frequency noise filter. We can unplug this too and get it off here. So now the valve cover is free from essentially everything that is holding it down. except for its retaining bolts. So we have one bolt here, 2, 3, 4 along the front. We have one more in the back corner, probably 4 more in the back corner, and then right up here on top of the valve cover you have 2 more bolts that must be removed. Let's go ahead and get all of these. They're all 10mm. We've unfastened all the retaining bolts, and now the valve cover is just free and can be lifted right off. It helps to do this with 2 hands. I'm going to have to put down the camera to do this, but you can see that if it were not for these studs right here, it would come right off. So with the cover off, we can take a peek underneath, and the condition here is pretty good generally. There's not really any crud to speak of. There's a little bit of patina, but that's nothing to worry about. Okay, I want to point out while we're here that when we put this back together, we want to put a dab of RTV right here at the joint between the timing cover and the head, and same thing on the back side too. Okay, that's important for sealing up that area of that joint. Now these are the spark plug wells, and due to these spark plug wells being drowned in oil, we're going to remove the spark plugs and let the oil drain down, because otherwise it would just stay there. So here's our valve cover, the old valve cover gasket. We're just going to pull it right off. And here's the new valve cover gasket. Before we put it on, we're going to clean this off really well using some brake cleaner. Next, I'm going to use a soft brush, brass brush, to just get out whatever is left in here. Okay, now I give it one more rinse. Okay, and we're going to dump this out into our catch can. Okay, so here's our new valve cover gasket. Let's get it out of its wrapper. Okay, now I want to make sure that the valve cover gasket adheres to the valve cover. so that when I go to put it on, it doesn't fall out. So I'm going to use this product here, this gasket sealant. It's high tack. It's really just like a glue. And what I'm going to do is just going to apply it all over the valve cover gasket. And not to forget the spark plug grommets. Okay. So now this is ready to go on. And again, with the application of the tacky sealant, this keeps the gasket in place so it will not fall out when I flip the valve cover over. You just have to make sure everything is nicely lined up everywhere. And there, we should be ready to go. So now all that remains is to get this valve cover back onto the head, and the tricky part is just to sneak it past these spots where the harness is sort of in the way. And as you can see, the gasket is nicely stuck to there we go. So all we have to do now is put the bolts and nuts back on, tighten them down. We've already replaced the spark plugs, so we'll put the ignition coils back on, reattach the harness and the hoses, and we're good to go. Let's finish that up. Everything is back in place. Note that this hose right here cracked, as they always do, so we wrapped it in electrical tape enough to prevent any air from sneaking through and causing a vacuum leak on the that would be like a P0171. Okay, and we use this zip tie to secure it, but the electrical tape around the crack keeps the air from leaking through. We've cleaned it up nice with brake cleaner, and we're just going to go start it up, and we'll check all around the valve cover for any leaks. So the car is running, and that big puff of smoke is the oil that went down in the cylinders. It burns right off, and we're just going to look all around, make sure there aren't any leaks before we put the engine cover back on and seal it up. Okay, we don't see any leaks, and we're good to go. Thanks for watching.